He left behind bodies, letters, and codes, but no name. For over 50 years, detectives and armchair sleuths have pointed fingers at men who looked like him, sounded like him, even wrote like him. But somehow none of them were ever charged. Was the Zodiac Killer really someone we already investigated? Or did the real killer walk away while we chased shadows? Arthur Lee Allen was a 34-year-old pharmacy technician when the Zodiac Killer's reign of terror began in December of 1968, a resident of Vallejo. He lived just 2 blocks from one of the crime scenes and worked at a drugstore not far from another. His personnel file noted that he was often high on the list of desirable single men in the area. But there was a darkness lurking beneath the surface. According to those who knew him, Allen had been an unremarkable young man until he returned from the Korean War, having been wounded and decorated for valor. But back home, his behavior was increasingly erratic. He was arrested for spousal battery and spent time in a psychiatric hospital. It was here, according to one theory, that he picked up the moniker Zodiac. It came from the fact that he shared a room with another patient nicknamed Horse, who would call him Zoe because he was shorter than him. Allen himself denied this, claiming the name came from a girl he knew who thought he looked like the character Joey from the TV show. But to investigators, the similarities between Allen and the Zodiac Killer were uncanny. Allen had a taste for expensive watches, just like the killer. And he owned a copy of the Encyclopedia Britannica, which contained the cipher the killer used to taunt the press. Plus, Allen was known to frequent the areas where the murders took place and lived just blocks away from 2 of the crime scenes. For a while, he was considered the prime suspect. Then the police found his handwriting sample and compared it to the killer's letters. They were almost certainly written by the same person. But when they showed the 2 victims who had survived their encounters with the Zodiac, they both said, no, that's not him. Allen was cleared and went on to live a quiet life until his death in 2002. But what about Lawrence Kane? Kane was a local insurance salesman whose territory took him all over Northern California. It was while working in San Francisco in 1969 that he met a woman named Sherry, who became one of the key witnesses in the Zodiac case. When Sherry and her husband saw the police composite sketch of the man they believed to be the killer, they immediately thought of Kane, who they described as creepy. Although Kane wasn't formally investigated until decades later, the police did search his car and home, turning up nothing but a pile of bloody clothes in his trunk. These turned out to belong to a drifter who'd asked to borrow the car to wash them. So who was the Zodiac Killer? Was it Arthur Lee Allen, Lawrence Kane, or someone else entirely? Or could the real killers still be out there walking among us?